Round 5 of the GRIDLIFE iRacers Winter Touring Car Classic takes us across the Atlantic Ocean to the United Kingdom for a trip to Donington Park. This fast-flowing circuit is a perfect home for touring cars, and it's time for GRIDLIFE to return to iRacing as we are officially past the halfway point in the season. Hi everybody, Kyle Heyer joined by Greg Kramer tonight for the 5th round of the season. 5th of 8, Greg, getting down to the last couple races, and this time heading to a touring car classic.
Absolutely, and it's about as different as it can be from our preceding round at Detroit with the concrete barriers. This is a wide open, flowing track here at Donington, running the national circuit, just under 2 miles long, 10 turns counted, and it is a slightly undulating and very tricky place. It does not have any paved runoff. You can see it here. All the runoff is either grass or gravel. You've got to be pretty precise on this track, and there is a lot of local track knowledge here that really pays big dividends, but it's quick. I mean, lap times we're seeing in qualifying, we're lapping just over a minute. These TCR category cars with all their aero are getting around here really quickly. They're going to love this place. I think we're going to love the racing.
Absolutely, and again, sprint races coming up, 10-minute heats, and then our 20-minute feature, just as we've done the last couple of rounds. Qualifying underway, 60 drivers entered in tonight, all vying for 40 spots in the feature race. And drivers that have been with us in weeks past, Dana Bazinski for Andy Svedegard Motorsports right now in the number 99. One of the most improved drivers this season, Greg. He's come a long way and is learning a lot every single week. New to iRacing in the last couple of months, and it is showing that he has put the time in to get better.
Yeah, no question about it. Really looking tight and tidy, and that is precisely what you need in certain spots of this track. That was the Goddard chicane that if you would have turned left entering that, you would have gone into what they call the Melbourne Loop, which is part of the Grand Prix layout. But here is the entrance. Tricky corner. Red Gate, one of the slowest corners on the track. And at that, it's only medium speed, Kyle. And so you can really flow speed. You have to turn in later than you think. It tightens up a bit on the exit. Then the run through the legendary Craner curves. This is the old hairpin. You've got to really get a good launch out of here, because now you make the run through Schwantz curve, down through Starkey's Bridge, and into one of the trickiest entries to a corner on this track, maybe anywhere, into McLean's, climbing, and you have very little time to get the car settled. Up and over a bit of a ridge, down is a little dip here, and now the climb into the crucial coppice, and it is an increasing radius corner. You turn in late, and then just flow speed down onto the long Starkey straight, longest straight here, and that's going to lead into the best overtaking area on this track by far, the Goddard's chicane here. Hard on the brakes here, watching Bazinski, flicks it left, beautiful line there, and you want to be picking the throttle up early because you've got another decent run here into maybe the second best overtaking area into Redgate.
Dana Bazinski comes across the line and runs a 19th place qualifying effort. And Paul Darling sits on top of the board right now in that qualifying session. Our winner from last week at Detroit, Greg, it was a battle between Paul Darling and Matt Waldbaum. Matt currently 5th in the order. Matt comes off of his first weekend wheel-to-wheel racing in GRIDLIFE's Touring Cup class back at Circuit of the Americas just a couple of days ago. So off the racetrack and back into the sim for Waldbaum, another ASM driver. Here's Ryan Christoph, who we expect to see back in GLTC later this year in a Honda CRX that looks much like this Audi RS3 TCR. Ryan 25th right now in qualifying.
Well, you know, the guys that are racing in GLTC and then come and do the sim, it just keeps you sharp, and it even sharpens things just a little bit. And I just love the graphic package on Ryan's car here. You mentioned it, that it's very much like his real-life car, and it is sharp.
Love the gold vinyl on the side of his CRX and his TCR car. Into turn one, runs a 1:13.072. Pole time right now is a 1:12.182. DJ Alessandrini is back. Podium run for him last week. Got up onto the podium after starting in 8th in the feature race. And passing 5 cars at Detroit Belle Isle is no easy feat, especially with how competitive the field was last week.
Yeah, that's an absolute fact. It is such a tough place to pass. And that's one of the, if you're going to have an issue with this track, is it's not great for overtaking because it's so flowing. And with the exception of the run into the Goddard chicane, there's really no heavy braking into a tight corner where you can really lay in a late braking move. You can do it into Redgate, and this is that turn that I'm talking about. DJ flicking it through there, really looking strong. You could do it a bit into Redgate. You could maybe surprise somebody into McLean's. but it's not an easy place to pass, so qualifying really going to take on some serious significance here.
Alessandrini jumps to second with that run, a 1:12.197, puts him 15 thousandths off of the pole. Peter Zhang, Christoph, and Eric Dalla going for some laps. Nick Sarter running in the number 6 car and 47th right now. We've got 58 drivers currently in the server, and one that has not had a very strong effort is Marc-Antoine Blaise in the number 31, back in 56th at the moment.
You'd certainly expect a little bit more from him with the form he's been on. You know, I wouldn't have thought there was a lot of room between Darling and Burkhardt to split them, and DJ did exactly that.
Yeah, put himself right in the mix. And again, we're going to have our 3 heat races as it works. The odd qualifiers run in heat number 1. The even qualifiers run in heat number 2. The top 15 from each of those heats move straight to the feature. Then we have a last chance qualifier to qualify the next 10. If you're watching in the YouTube chat tonight, stay tuned for prizes to be raffled away randomly. As long as you're participating in the chat, you'll get a chance to win some of the prizing thanks to BC Racing. Again, the season champion. We'll also get a set of BC Racing coilovers. A big thanks to them for offering up those prizes. And Recaro is offering podium prizing for our podium winners each week. So congratulations to Darling, Waldbaum, and Alessandrini for being the podium winners last week and getting some of that awesome Recaro prizing. So again, big thanks to the sponsors and partners and people that make this happen. But Greg, we're getting set for our first heat race here in just a minute.
Yeah, and the one thing for DJ, he's had some issues where he's had to come through the field a number of times. Having him start up front is going to be something that he's really going to relish here, and we're looking forward to that. Matt Corrance comes in here leading in the points, just 12 clear of Darling after that great run at Detroit. Matt Waldbaum, very strong as well. Alessandrini 4th, Marc-Antoine Blaise in 5th. And so this is going to be crucial as we head into that second half of the season, as you said.
Yeah, Matt Corrance again. You mentioned his lead fell about 10 points after Darling grabbed the win, and Corrance was down the order just a little bit. There is your starting lineup on the left-hand side of the screen for heat number 1. It's Darling, Burkhardt, Clark, Davis, and Rodig, the top 5. Engel, Sharon, Waxman, DiPietro, and Patza, the rest of the top 10. Other notables in this group, Josh Lepetri in the 55 down in 21st. Nick Nelson and in the 663 is back in 22nd. Max Bauman, who we saw battling last week at Belle Isle, will start in 27th for this one. So Darling up front alongside Morgan Burkhardt. This will be a fun battle. Burkhardt has been running this TCR car in other series as well and within iRacing, and he's been extremely competitive, so we'll see how he does tonight, starting in second in Heat 1. Top 15 move on from this one.
All right, we are just about, 50 seconds away from getting this one launched here, and it's a great graphics package on that car closest to us there at center screen.
Yeah, Morgan
There's
Burkhardt.
Burkhardt's car.
Yep, yeah, looks really solid.
Yeah, it does. And Davis alongside.
Yep, waiting for a couple other cars to grid. Ryan Persaud in the number 9. I want to apologize for mispronouncing that name. It's Persaud in the number 9 car. He'll roll off in 11th. Time to go racing, though. Here we go, Greg. Heat number 1 at Donington. Green flag flies, 10 minutes on the board, and one car stalls on the grid. That's the 25 of Rob Clark, I think. He did not get going, and he's swarmed now 3 wide.
Yeah, he's just been absolutely freight trained. Beautiful move, though, by Burkhardt, just sweeping around the outside of Darling into Redgate. And everybody just needs to get through, as always, this first corner here, running a little wide there. And again, there's no paved runoff, so you get out too far, you get stuck in that gravel. It's going to bring you down through Hollywood and now into the Craner curves. This is the old hairpin, as they call it. What a great shot.
Oh, just curving and twisting down the hill, using the momentum to carry yourself through the corner. So far, so good. I think everybody's still on course. Maybe a couple cars getting a little off course there. The 36 of Tom Eaton drops a couple wheels off, but up front, Morgan Burkhardt, Paul Darling, and Rodig are the top 3.
Yeah, nice launch by Rodig. When Clark had his issues, Rodig was right there ready to pounce. Davis, and off here, one of the ASM machines, Shane Patza.
Yeah, he has found his way into the fence, and that is a pretty big impact here. Let's quickly go back and see. I think he just got in here a little too hot, Greg. Easy to do, and you mentioned to me pre-broadcast that if you don't get the turn-in just right for this, it's going to cost you.
It is, absolutely is. And watch what happens here. And you can see right at the point of impact, look, you see that left front wheel is broken. He's done.
Yeah, he is done, unfortunately. A couple drivers scattering on that final chicane. If you cut that, you'll have to give up some time. Look at the big move there from the 56 of Crawford, left to right. He's going to go for a pass on 3 cars.
Looking down the inside, not quite able to get that completely done, but a good aggressive move nonetheless. Look there, Christoph trying to work his way now down to the inside. Really, really close.
Very close, and
Wow.
he actually backed out of that. There was almost contact there. Neil Hancock right behind. He's going to go up the inside. Christoph runs wide, leaves plenty of space. There's a tiny bit of paved runoff, but it goes away before you need it. Up front, here comes Burkhardt.
And Darling side by side now. Great move by Darling to get down underneath. Now it's the drag race. And boy, they made it work. 2 abreast.
Oh, now down towards
That's tough to do. Nice job.
Towards the chicane. Look at Josh Rodig. He might give a little bit of a push to the 155. He's going to back out. Now go the long way around here. Try to figure out which lane's best. They're both going to hop the sausage curbs. And here he comes. 3 wide for the lead.
He read that beautifully. I think he realized these guys were not going to go quietly. And he just laid back, squared up, got a run. And I think he's going to lead down into Redgate.
Look at this. This is spectacular. Ryan
Phenomenal.
Ingles in the mix in the 43 car, the 48 of Jonathan Davis. And the 2 cars dropped 2 wheels off.
And they're still side by side as they get through Hollywood and into the Craner curves. Falling down the hill here.
Oh, that's really
still
dicey.
Side by side. Oh, there may have been a touch, but it was very minimal. And now through the old hairpin, they get it settled. Kyle, this is awesome stuff.
This is fantastic. This is why we love these British circuits. Just seem so right for. Whoa, there's a hip check there, and the 43 will get knocked wide. But this is why we love these courses in the UK. Brands Hatch is another one that is very universally popular in the TCRs here in iRacing, just because of how well it flows. Oulton Park, another kind of club level circuit that has international fame. But fantastic racing in the opening moments. Rodig, Darling, Burkhardt, your top 3.
Well, remember, so many of the national circuits in Britain were really made popular by touring car racing. The old British Touring Car Championship, World Touring Car Championship, and these TCR cars with their additional downforce that's built into them are just going to be a joy to drive, and whereas we're seeing a joy to watch around here.
Nick Nelson is the driver on the chopping block at the moment, 15th place. Josh Lepetri in the 55. That is the Hyundai. Just at the back of that shot, the teal and yellow. He's the one who needs to make a pass to get into the show.
And he's got a little work to do to get up there. Good battling even behind them, as we always find here. Colin McHugh started back in the 23rd spot, has worked his way up a few positions here, but more to do to try and make that transfer.
Yeah, Ryan Persaud in the number 9 also in this mix. And back up in 6th place, I think there's a pass for position. Rob Clark moving back forward after getting a very poor start off of that second row. He went backwards in a hurry, but now gaining a spot back from Ido Waxman.
Yeah, the problem for him now is that he's got, the better part of 3+ seconds. You can see the gap up to the group in front. Engel would be the next car then in front of him, Davis. So Clark's got work to do. What he wants to do right now is just make sure he gets clear of Waxman. And again, where you finish here determines where you start in the 20-minute final. So crucial to make up any spots you possibly can without throwing the car off the track and losing an easy transfer.
Nick Nelson dropped to 16th place. I think he had a slowdown and had to give up a little bit of time, might have cut a corner, and that will allow Josh Lepetri to jump into the transfer spot. Out front, Josh Rodig is currently the race leader in the number 20. Paul Darling in the 155 is right behind. Rodig is a driver that we've seen in the entry lists in the past, but he has not really shown up to party at the front of the field like he has this week. This is a surprise and a pleasant one at that.
Yeah, I mean, he is just on form, and as you said, I'm not, familiar with him either, obviously, and he has just been able to give it to pretty experienced guys like Darling and Davis, Engel, Clark, that group, and a good run too by Burkhardt, sitting right there in third. A little bit of a gap from Burkhardt back to Davis.
Game start getting played there on the back straightaway.
Yeah.
Rodig moving a couple of times, and Darling prioritizes the run up onto the front straight here, and look at him hugging the right side of the racetrack.
He got a great run, Kyle. You really launched through Goddard's well. Rodig really protecting. See if Darling can try him around the outside. Darling's going for the over-under on the exit. He might get his car there.
Side by side. And he's got it. Darling takes the lead away from Rodig.
Well, that Goddard chicane is a classic, compromise in-out. And what do you want there? Well, with that Wheatcroft straight following it, you want to give the entrance up just a little bit, get on the power a bit earlier. And Darling drove that to perfection, and it paid off with a move to the lead.
Morgan Burkhardt still riding in third in the mix. Deeper in the field, though, 15th place, still Josh LePetri in the 55. Nick Nelson has not had the pace to overcome the mistake he made a lap ago, so unfortunately he is on the outside looking in. And other battles forming behind Troy Sharon in the 4 car. This is a good scrap for 11th place.
Yeah, Nelson needs about a second and a half to get back to LePetri, but he's got less than 3 minutes to do it, so time to really put the old head down here as we're riding on board with Mark Crawford, who's had himself a successful run. 13th, that's a transfer. Car in front of him's got some issues with that right rear corner. Is he just throwing off gravel?
That's Sparks, that off the right rear.
Yeah, there's something wrong with that right rear tire.
Yeah, thankfully, it doesn't seem to be holding him up a whole lot, but something is definitely dragging there in the rear. And Crawford looking to overtake right now in 12th. Brandon Wilson just behind. Look at the livery on this car. This is a very pretty Honda Civic Type R.
I like that neonism. That's great. Yeah, it's sharp. Really, really good looking.
Up front,
Wilson
Darling
really doing a nice job too. Sorry.
Darling has established a 6/10 of a second lead, but how about this battle? Val DiPietro and Dana Pasinski, an 8th place run. The qualifying was down about 19th or 20th, but here he is running an 8th in the heat. And again, where you finish, as you mentioned, Greg, is the starting position in your row. So this would put Dana about 17th or 18th place in the grid for the feature if he stays as is. And in the past, Dana has been involved in incidents not of his own doing that took him out of that feature race, but tonight he's running very well and actually chasing down Ido Waxman with 1.5 minutes to go. This should be maybe 2 laps to go. It takes about 1:12 to get a lap done, so we're going to have 2 laps left here, Greg.
Yeah, it would be great for Basinski to get into the final and be up a little bit on that grid, and he's looking to do that right now. Going back in the order just a little bit, keeping an eye on that transfer spot. It's still LePetri over Nelson, and Nelson has trimmed about 3/10 of his deficit, but that's not going to be enough.
This this livery is entertaining because Ido Waxman works for Pratt Miller, which is involved with the Corvette program in IMSA, and he's tacked on the fender vents on this Audi RS3. No Corvettes in TCR, unfortunately.
Yeah, look at that. Yep, Velocity yellow. Gotta love it. Oh, he's under huge attack now. Basinski really getting a good run being put together here. Down through Schwantz curve and through McLean's. Here we go, up into Coppice. Really tricky. Blind entrance here. You can't see it. And then it opens up. It's an increasing radius corner. And everybody's staying kind of tight to that second apex. You don't have to. You could flow a lot more speed around that. Sort of like that last turn at Monza.
Into the braking zone, Waxman really deep. He's walking the car around in the brakes, gets a lot of curb. That's going to slow him down, and here comes Basinski.
Yep, exactly right on what he did, and Basinski really drove a snug line. White flag is out.
One more lap around in the first of our heats tonight. Waxman defends the inside, and here comes Val DiPietro to be part of the party now. 3 cars battling for 7th.
Basinski cut back to defend on the car right behind him, DiPietro, and it actually gave him a solid little bit of a run as well. Great battling here everywhere we're looking. We just see this every week when we have one of these. Look at Basinski attacking again.
Just on top of Waxman, but really cracked the 5 car. There's a touch there. That was an optimistic dive, and he puts the bumper to him. Isn't enough to move him out of the way, though. He'll stay behind for now.
Yeah, he didn't nerf him, but he definitely got him to shift just a little bit.
Out front, Paul Darling. 2 more corners to navigate in the 155, and he'll pick up where he left off after Detroit Belle Isle, and he'll win his heat race. Morgan Burkhardt in 2nd, Josh Rodig in 3rd. Strong run for the number 20. And going back to that Basinski battle, they're going to come home 7th, 8th, and 9th. Waxman, Basinski, DiPietro, and Sharon in 10th. Good fight, especially the opening laps of that one were an absolute blast, Greg.
It was absolutely superb, and everybody pretty clean, and then they got after the racing. And unfortunately for Nick Nelson, just couldn't quite get it done. He trimmed it to under 0.5 of a second at the line, but still in all, the last transfer does go to LePetri. And he will move into the final. Everybody else into the LCQ.
Yeah, they'll have to fight that out in the LCQ. As you mentioned, only 10 spots available in that one. Here's a very quick look at the top 10 runners from our heat race. But everyone was on top of each other. They finished up pretty quick there. And now it's time to move on to heat number 2. Typically, we get a little longer to look at the results because there's stragglers at the tail. But everyone was very tight in that race. We'll move on to the second heat. Here's a look at your starting lineup on the left.
And DJ Alessandrini on pole for the start of this one. Roberts and the very quick Waldbaum right there as well. Barnes and Pennington. And then Montello rounds out the 6th start spot.
7th, Marc-Andre Seguin in the number 58. Anthony Montello in the number 77. Christian Racines in the 19. That's a new name, I believe, this week. Alfred Rodriguez. Shreyas Venkataraju in the number 16. Brandon Dreyer. Thomas Langiel and Peter Zhang. Packs are all rounding out the rest of your top 15. Time to go racing here in heat number 2. 15 move on. And DJ Alessandrini sits on pole for this one. Chris Roberts in second. And as you mentioned, Waldbaum second on the inside row. Green flag, we're racing from Donington.
Everybody getting away pretty cleanly on this one. Nobody just parked. Ooh, bit of a slide job there. Didn't realize somebody was alongside. But again, that outside launch spot gives Roberts a nose ahead turning into Redgate, but I think at the exit here into Hollywood, it's going to be DJ back in front, but Roberts right there.
Last week it was heat 2. That was the messy one after heat 1 was very clean. Will it be the same at Donington? Ooh, a couple cars wobbling on the binders into Old Hairpin. One car sideways. That was Dalla Riva, I think, that took a slide. One other car spins. Brian Lyons in the 33.
I wonder if Lyons just checked up suddenly, seeing the other car sliding. Look at this, side by side, Roberts, Alessandrini, as they come through McLean's and heading into Coppice. Boy, Roberts determined, isn't he?
And Matt Waldbaum right in the middle of this mix as well, fresh off his first weekend at GRIDLIFE Touring Cup at COTA. Will he go for the lead? Will he push Alessandrini? He'll choose the latter.
Get down to the inside, going into Goddard's, but Roberts nose ahead. But look at the rotation by Alessandrini. Got that car pivoted on its nose, got to the throttle early, and it paid off. But is that Montello coming from way back?
It's Michael Montello and Anthony Montello, the brothers Montello through the middle and 3 wide, putting Roberts in the middle of all of it.
And look at Waldbaum. Follow DJ through, slots into the 2nd spot. Roberts back into 3rd, and then the brothers Montello rounding out the top 5.
Wow, fun stuff on the opening laps of these races, absolutely. Back to 15th place.
Did you see the abruptness of DJ's turn in?
He managed to make it stick somehow.
Oh, it worked, and it got, what it did was it got the car straightened out a little bit sooner, and he could get back to the throttle. Yeah, that was just superb.
DJ runs a Honda Civic, 2006 Civic SI in GRIDLIFE Touring Cup, so the front-wheel drive platform is no stranger to him, especially not the Civic. Marc-Antoine Blaise
figured out a way to get it to pivot on its nose, and it paid off.
Sure did. How about this for Marc-Antoine Blaise? Started 28th. He's up to 15th in 2 laps. He's in the transfer spot.
Yeah, he had something going on in qualifying because we know Marc-Antoine's pretty quick, and he's showing it right now. That is a great opening couple laps.
Behind him, a couple other cars still fighting for position. Mogensen, Dalla Riva in the 74. And the 26 will go off course.
Yeah, and they're back, would you say, 19th, 20th, so they need to move up just a little bit. The cutoff right now for the transfer is Marc-Antoine Blaise.
I think some of the drivers towards the tail of the field are probably disappointed there's not more drama. They've been pretty nice to each other tonight, and not a lot of freebies to pick up. Everyone's staying on track, at least in the right direction for the most part. Oh, okay, well, I just said that. Now there's about 3 or 4 cars off track at Old Hairpin.
Yeah, is that the number 15 that ran wide?
The 16 of Venkataraju is off.
Okay.
There's a couple of the not fast motorsports cars. Peter Zhang. And here's Marc-Antoine Blaise up to now going for 11th place, and Zhang goes defensive.
Yeah, Marc-Antoine is just significantly quicker right now than everybody around him, and they pretty much have to do that little bit of a defensive move as they come now onto the Starkey Straight, heading down into that Goddard chicane. Let's see what Marc-Antoine does. I don't think he's quite close enough to do anything.
A little too deep. Gets into the back of him, and big hop there, and that might be a cut course. Two tires over the sausage curb. But good for him. He's made enough progress that he's still in, even with a drop of a position or two.
Absolutely. That's just been a great charge to the field. Tucked right up right now with the number 94 of Dreyer.
Brandon Dreyer in that blue, red, and white Civic. Kind of hooks the curb to keep it rotated. Blaze takes the inside for old hairpin. Bit of a slide. Will run Dreyer off into the rumble strip, but they'll both stay on course, thankfully. Here comes Lucas Webster in the 34. How about that livery, Greg?
That's great. Pretty evocative, isn't it? And what a move he used, Webster did, when Blaze and Stacy had their little bit of a moment. He just read it beautifully. But look at this now. Stacy not going quietly into the side. What a save by the 34 of Webster. Beautiful stuff in the Rothman's livery.
Throttle down and run away the best you can. Here comes Benson. Ty with a push from Thomas at the number 15. He's going to get shoved all the way down to the chicane. This is all for the transfer spot. Move the 153 rather into that spot. So he will move on. Everyone else is out, and there's trouble ahead of them on the front straightaway. Two cars tangled.
Yeah, the number 19, one of them there.
And Austin Barnes,
that's Racine's. That's unfortunate. There's what happened.
Oh, man. Another angle on this. Kind of chased each other off track, and then right here off the curb.
Touch, yeah, when you get off track like that and then you come bouncing on the guy that is on the outside, it really has nowhere to go. That's unfortunate. Racine, for his first visit from my perspective anyway, was really putting on a good run.
Yeah, and he's down at 25th now, so he'll have to move on to the LCQ if he wants to get into the feature event. There's Brian Lyons on a recovery after that spin he had early. Eric Dalla Riva as well. Just saw a plane take off on the right side of the screen, and I knew you were talking about how close the airport is. East Midlands, Greg.
Oh, it is literally, this track is literally just west of the airport. And one of the interesting things, when there's busy airport traffic and the planes are taking off to the west over the track, talked to Calvin Fish, and he said because of how close it is, and there you can see the track, and behind it is the airport, they're taking off over the track. Oftentimes the track will develop a little bit of a slipperiness to it, and it's because of the unburned jet fuel that the planes drop as they accelerate up and over the airport. He said it's just one of the weird little nuances of Donington here, and you can see how close it is to that airport. And you were talking about somebody who had put on one heck of a comeback drive. Well, Webster is trying to do the same thing after he got tagged and knocked completely sideways, lost 3 or 4 spots, dropped out of the transfer. He had worked his way back up into the 16th spot right now in this car, and there is who he needs to get to. Right in front of him is your points leader, Matt Corrins.
Yeah, Mac has had an interesting night. He qualified pretty deep in the field and had started 23rd in this heat, and he is the last man in as it stands. He cannot afford to have to fight it out in the LCQ, because when you do that, Greg, you're guaranteeing yourself a best starting position of 31st, and then you have to get busy in the feature. So this is already not a great night for Corrins. He needs to pass as many cars as possible. He has 2.5 minutes to do it, and he's in the danger zone right now.
Yeah, he has got to make up a spot or two here just to have some buffer. Here comes Webster. He got a great run, though, as Corrins got bottled up, and Webster's going to be right on Corrins' shoulder as they head down toward Redgate.
Side by side into one. Corrins re-clears Webster. Here comes Bryant, the blue and white Civic, to the inside. He wants to throw his hat in the ring here as well. It's a 5-car race for 13th place at the moment, but Corrins in the orange car is the last man in the feature.
Yeah, and I mean, for the points leader, this is really crucial to not get trapped in that LCQ. He's going to be starting far enough back as it is.
Right, I mean, this is already not a great night. He'll start 30th as it stands. But at least this way, if he can at least finish 15th, he won't have to worry about the LCQ going sideways and him missing the night entirely.
Boy, he would love to get by Langille right in front of him there in the number 15, because Webster is just being relentless in coming after him right now, and having that little bit of a buffer would be a welcome thing here. Webster is just absolutely determined to steal this away from whoever's sitting in 15th.
Great run through the last couple corners. Not enough to get up alongside Corrins. But 2 laps to go here, and you can hear Stacy. Nope, it was Michael Bryant who gets alongside.
Oh, look at this. Bryant might have that outside run on Webster into Redgate. Yeah, Webster had to tuck in so tight here. He's going to lose a lot of momentum, floating wide. And unfortunately, that does shove Bryant off just a little bit, but Bryant keeps the boot in it, gives it plenty of welly. Figured that's appropriate here. Good at track in England.
Whoa, big moment, and Bryant slides off course at Old Hairpin.
Nice save, but yeah, that's going to cost him a lot of track distance and position.
We'll save Corrence for now. Back up to second place. Waldbaum feeling some heat from Chris Roberts. These drivers are both comfortably in, so at this point, don't throw it away. You're 23 seconds remaining in the race, but 1 more lap left to navigate.
Exactly. You're in a good transfer spot. Yes, that 1 more spot would be nice, but this is when you're doing a lot of calculating for risk v reward at this stage, and I would say risk would rule right now, unless Waldbaum has some sort of a little mistake, and he's not really too prone to that here. And they've got a good second back to the Montellos, so just bring it home. That's their message right now.
Something to note is that Waldbaum was one of the fastest cars at Detroit Belle Isle. Alessandrini has a 4.7 second lead. This might be DJ's week. He has not won yet this season. I think we might have to look ahead to him maybe getting his first win after, I would say, a relatively slow start by Alessandrini standards here in iRacing, but there's still plenty of time in the season. Again, the points will kind of shake out as things go, but again, with Corrence having a bad night, that really opens up the championship to somebody else to sneak in there. Darling is in great position with his win in the first heat.
Yeah, I would agree. And for DJ, even with his struggles this year, he's 4th in the points, and it's because even when he's had a problem, he has come from way back to make it work. And I was going to say that was an opportunistic look by Roberts, and I think he was smart to back out of it. But by giving that look, he gives the Montellos an opportunity. It's a drag race to the line.
Roberts
look
gets
at that
him.
Margin.
Oh,
Roberts
55 thousandths of a second. That was really tight.
Goodness.
Tighter than I'm sure he wanted it to be.
Unbelievable.
Alessandrini picks up the Heat 2 win. And the transfer spot will go to Matt Corrence with Lucas Webster right behind. But Corrence will move on. He will start 30th in the feature race. He has still a lot of work left to go.
Yeah, he does. And Webster was really aggressive, pushed hard, and to have him not make that transfer, a bit of a shame, but he was just flat out race for it. So he's got work to do after in this LCQ.
Quick look at some of our front runners here. Let's scroll on through and have a gander at your top 10. Alessandrini through Frito Rodriguez. He ends up in P10. Nice run for him. Marc-Andre Seguin in the number 58 runs 7th. But here's the all-important transfer position. From Corrence on up are in, Webster on down are out.
And that tells the story at this stage. So it's LCQ time, and you need, if you want to have any hope of anything positive in the final, you need to finish in the front end of the LCQ. There's a look at the Melbourne hairpin. And the only reason that part of the track was added was so that it would exceed the 2-mile minimum length at the time for a Formula One race. It created that Melbourne loop, as they call it.
Another look at the East Midlands Airport here, and images from Microsoft Flight Simulator. So kind of blending a couple simulators together. Why not? Gives us some good aerial view and kind of a better context for where the track is geographically.
Absolutely. And just for those of you who love the Robin Hood legend, it's very close, just a little southwest of Nottingham.
All right, so time to go racing in our LCQ. So now it's 10 transfer spots. Again, if you're watching in the YouTube chat, make sure that you're typing and chatting away. If you're chatting, you'll get an opportunity to win prizes from BC Racing. Big thanks again to Sean behind the scenes for taking care of that and handing out those prizes tonight. 10 drivers move on. Right now, the driver of the transfer spot is Nelson Jones. Can he hang on? Let's see. 10 minutes. Green flag.
Webster, not a great start. He was outside of that front row, and he's already slipped at least one spot, maybe two, as Nelson nailed it and leads into Redgate.
A couple cars getting stacked up here through the first couple corners, and I hear contact behind, but just door-to-door contact will all make it through at least the first corner here. Oh, there's some more contact now.
Ooh.
Just elbows out in the opening moments.
And here into the old hairpin, and look at the lead that Nelson has already.
One car went spearing off.
Yeah.
It was Drew Cleaver. And just briefly, here's a look. He just got hit from behind by the 9 car and sent him wildly sliding off course and just taps the barrier. He'll be able to continue, but his chances to be in are out. And look at this mess.
Oh, cars everywhere.
Holy cow.
I think that's the run up into McLean's.
Yeah, let's have another look from the aerial perspective. Ooh, this was just a huge mess.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Cars pinballing everywhere here.
Don't even know where to start.
Yeah, lots of them. We'll go with that.
Yeah, it starts right here with the spin. I think the 10 car gets turned around and then just ping-ponging off each other at that point, but that will push
tires coming off cars.
Yeah, that'll push some of them out. And now Ryan Finch is the last man in.
And Webster, after dropping back to 4th briefly, has fought his way back into 2nd, with Prasad in the 3rd spot, then Schneekloff in 4th.
Oh, there's the 10 of Finch on the binders into turn 1. Having a look at Ben Shout. Michael Bryant in that blue and white Civic was on the outside looking in at his heat. He needs one more spot to move into the feature, and he's right behind the spot he needs.
Riding on board with him right now, up into old hairpin.
A lot of dust on the track here as well.
Yeah, when you start grabbing the inside of that curb too much, and it just pulls that, and you see it there in the Schwantz curve. Now through Starkey's Bridge and up into McLean's. Really tough when you're out that far to get the car turned in down to the apex. That was at one spot of the track where you really want to be mid-track to maybe just about 2/3 of the way from the right side to really get it to the apex and get to the throttle.
Here comes Shreyas Venkataraju in the 16 alongside Bryant. Not enough overlap. Brian Finch has a look at Ben Shout. This is going to be very dicey. Venkataraju, wow, huge jump over the curb for the 10.
That was one heck of a move. Big wiggle there by the 16 of Venkataraju, and he moved up and then lost a bunch of it.
A lot of fender rubbing and door banging down the front straightaway. 3 wide. This is all for 10th. This is the spot to transfer. Shane Potza, the ASM car gets turned.
Oh! Not sure. Was that the 66 that of Shout that got him turned?
Let's have a look from up above and see if we can get a better idea of how this happened. I wonder if the ASM car just tracks out a little too far. No, Shout turns right. Just comes off the curb and hooks him around.
Yep.
And Michael Bryant now off course. As we pulled away, Bryant has found his way off course. Got to keep up with the replays here and more contact.
It's that same spot.
Man,
it's just sort of eating cars right now.
Elbows out, that's for sure. Everyone wants in. Ryan Finch still the driver in the show.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, that's that approach to the old hairpin. And when you come through the Craner curves, you get down to that bottom at the Craner curve and it flattens out a little bit, and you need to get the car positioned right, but you're transitioning as you're braking. I think it's just catching guys out. The approach to McLean's exaggerates that even more, but it happens going into old hairpin.
Yeah, there's a lot of kinked entrances to corners that kind of lead to that opportunity. Brent Schneekloff is in pit lane. That car has got some significant damage and a punt from the front to the rear. John Zhu and Ben Shout
giving him a little bit of the chrome horn.
Lucas Webster has just found his way to the front over Nick Nelson and Ryan Persad in the number 9. The mix.
Yeah. Webster was showing some real speed in that heat, that first heat, but he was in that group and just got involved in some stuff. And had a feeling that if he could get to the front, he would be one of the guys to watch here, and he's certainly doing a nice job. Persad not letting him go, is he?
Keeping him within striking distance at this point in the race, but again, just fighting for the scraps of the feature starting positions. It's Shout that it will start dead last in the feature. Again, 40 driver main race, and Shout is currently in the position to qualify 40th. It's about 2.5 seconds back to Neil Hancock, which is the next driver out of the race. Max Baumann in the 57. This is a bit of a surprise. Baumann was really strong at Belle last week and had a great race with a couple of his competitors. And tonight needs a few more positions.
Yeah, looking right there at Hancock, and I like the livery on that car. We're running in England here, and it has a bit of a look of Nigel Mansell's helmet.
Certainly looks the part.
I like that. Yes, it does.
Bauman, Pax Rolf behind in the 38. Christian Racine's the 19. It seems at this point in the race, with about 4 minutes left, most of the cars have kind of found their zone, but I think this is probably the most volatile position at the moment. It's 11th behind Hancock, and as I say that, second place under fire. Persad and Nelson trade positions.
Yeah, and with them, Mogensen has come right up with them racing each other, and he makes a big look, lunges out, takes a peek, not quite there, tucks right back in again.
The sausage curbs in this final chicane are extremely rough here in iRacing, and it always feels like you're losing time when you slam those things, but really if you apex that just right, you'll use a little bit of the red curb and you'll actually find some speed there, but too much will send these TCR cars bouncing.
Oh, look at this. Mogensen got down to the inside of Nelson, and they're side by side through Hollywood and now heading down into the Craner curves. It's a matter of which line's going to give you the grip, and Mogensen had the spot, takes it away. Nelson has to tuck back in behind, and he may start to feel a little bit of pressure from Carwell now.
Yeah, Ryan Carwell in the 71, also a bit of a slow start to the night. You typically see him run a little higher up the order. John Zhu, now the transfer car. Looks like Ben Schout's gone through. Max Bauman has gotten by Pax Rolf, and Neil Hancock dropped a couple of spots. He's still dealing with a lot of rear grip issues. Big slide there through Old Hairpin, now under fire from Racine's.
This is just some great stuff to watch here, and again, everybody eyeballing that 10th spot, and you're watching, you know who the guy is at, who has it right now, Zhu, and how close are you? And the problem is right now Zhu's got 4 seconds back to Bauman. You can see that gap right there. So Bauman and Rolf, they need to just put their heads down in these last, 2, maybe 3 laps and try and close that margin up. Don't race each other, just work with each other.
Yeah, Max Bauman again running the Hyundai. And again, we go back to talking about the balance of performance between these individual cars. Here in iRacing, they're extremely equivalent. They don't really have enormous advantages, but there are cars that you kind of, if you want to choose a different car each week, there is typically one that has a slight edge over the other. And I think the best track for this Hyundai is going to be Knock Hill in a couple of weeks. We go to Lime Rock Park next, then back to the UK for actually up in, where is Knock Hill? Is that up in Scotland?
Yes.
Yes. Elsewhere on the European continent, but Knock Hill is a real fun one, and when the official iRacing series went to Knock Hill, the Hyundai was the car of choice there. Not exactly sure why, but it just seems to have really good grunt for some of those slower but flowing corners. The advantages in this Hyundai is not on the long straightaways, which is most of the tracks that we've gone to so far, barring Belle Isle.
Yeah, everybody here, I mean, seems to be pretty balanced, and it really comes down to driver and setup right now. We saw at Belle Isle and a previous track, I don't remember which one it was, where the Audi, just with that little bit different gearing and torque band, was really good coming out of the tighter stuff. We don't have that much of that here. This is just flowing, get into the aero, and just wield that speed. And right now, everybody doing a really solid job here as we take a look at Mogensen. He had a really good run to work his way through on Nelson, and he is all over the back of Persad now.
And he started back in 16th place, so he's come a long way to get here. I think the track you were thinking of, Greg, was Imola. Coming out of a couple of the corners, that Audi really had a clear advantage, as well as at Monza. I think it could be argued that the straightaways benefited the Audi. But at the other tracks that we've been to, Watkins Glen, Detroit, I think the balance was a bit more equal. And here tonight, it seems like all the cars are on pretty equal footing. A lot of Hondas in the field, but this being GRIDLIFE and Hondas being kind of associated with GRIDLIFE from a bunch of different angles, I think that's just part of the driver base as well, picking their favorite.
Right. And Mogensen getting another fabulous run through Goddard's, that chicane. Now he has to pop to the outside as Persad covers a little bit on the entry. And they're going to do it side by side through here.
Final lap as well.
Nice job. Yeah, nice job by Persad to give him a little bit of room. Mogensen didn't really return the favor there, did he?
No, elbows out, a little bit of a rub, a bit of a bump, but Persad through in the number 9 into second place. And yeah, a little bit of leaning on each other at this point, but I think leaning on each other is okay, provided you both come out the other side.
Exactly.
It's a digital car after all.
Yeah, rubbing's okay. That's all right. And Bauman has trimmed a... Ooh!
Mogensen just chucked it up the inside, and he made it work. He got it done.
Wow, nice move. Zhu, well, I was about to say that Bauman had worked his way to within a couple of seconds of Zhu, but now he's gone missing. And it's Rolf, who's a lot farther back right now.
Yeah, Bauman with some damage. He must have found his way
shame.
off course. Yeah, that is unfortunate. Yep. But John Zhu still the last man in. And look at this battle for second in the final corners. Mogensen and Persad. Look, Lucas Webster will win the LCQ. Mogensen, Persad second and third. Then Nelson.
What a battle they had.
Yeah, absolutely. Nelson, Carwile, Dalariva, Christoph, Finch, Shout, and Zhu, the rest of your top 10. Those are your transfer drivers, Greg. Everybody above the red line.
Yeah, and you know, they're going to be starting a little bit farther back, but they're in that final. Their day's not done, and I think they're going to be really pleased with that. And it was some great racing to get there as well.
So these are the drivers that have been eliminated, but here are the ones that have transferred and will move on. Nelson, Webster, Mogensen, all drivers with a ton of pace. Persad as well, we've seen. Ryan Christoph in this mix as well. They'll start 31st through 40th in our 20-minute feature race. The racing tonight, barring the first couple laps of this race, I think this is probably the least incidents that we've had in any race so far this season. So I'm really interested to see how the feature race goes. 20 minutes, and this is where they pay out points, Greg.
Absolutely. It's going to be a huge field, so that's going to play into it as well. But this track, it's flowing, it's got room, and if you just work together for the first couple of laps, get yourself into a position to do something, you can get after it. I was going to mention, in 1993, this track held its lone Formula One race of the modern era. It was the European Grand Prix, and it was a race that ended up becoming part of the massive Ayrton Senna legend. He started the race, it was raining, and he started in fifth, didn't have a great qualifying. By the time he came out of the Craner curves, he was in the lead. It was an absolutely staggering drive. He won over Damon Hill by over a minute, and Atlas Formula One, one of the big Formula One blogs, called it the drive of the decade. Happened right here at Donington. And the last little kind of neat thing is the Craner curves are named after Fred Craner. He was a motorcycle racer who had taken part in 7 Isle of Man TT races in, listen to this, the 1920s. And he convinced the then owner of the Donington Hall estate, Alderman John Gillis, if he could use the estate's roads as a race course. And in 33, Gillis allowed him to build a permanent track, which became Donington Park.
Fascinating. Deep histories in a lot of the UK's racetracks.
And can you imagine running the Isle of Man in 1920?
I mean, I thought it was crazy in 2020. I can't imagine a century ago.
I know, unbelievable.
That's probably, one of those last truly astonishing sports events where it is just amazing to me how dangerous it is, but what a spectacle the Isle of Man TT is.
Oh my God!
I mean, that is just unbelievable.
Spectacle's the right word for it. On the plus and minus sides of it, I mean, some of those wrecks they have are just nuts. But the guys who just keep coming back and winning, they are a pretty special crop, aren't they?
They sure
another
are.
thing I was going to say, if you ever find yourself in this part of England, check to see if the Donington Historic Festival might be running. It is one of England's and the UK's and Europe's, frankly, top historic races. And imagine some period cars running around here.
We'll have some period cars running around our event at Lime Rock Park in August as well, Greg. That's a great transition, by the way. The GRIDLIFE Circuit Legends Festival in August.
It's going to be great.
Oh, check it out. It's definitely grid.life, and check out the events page for the Circuit Legends Festival. We're going to have race cars from the last couple of decades, kind of the classic legends that all of us grew up watching on television. The future, though, at least in getting into motorsport, sim racing. We're here tonight, GRIDLIFE iRacers Winter Touring Car Classic. Green flag, 20 minutes on the board for round number 5. Darling and Alessandrini, pretty clear start, but Alessandrini a little slow off the line. Here comes Burkhardt up the inside for second place, 3 abreast into turn 1.
Yeah, it was interesting. DJ didn't light the tires up, and I thought he may have got a great start, but I think he just had it under revved. And Darling spun him up a little bit, but got the launch. And as you said, that has allowed Burkhardt to come right up the inside of Alessandrini. It's got to settle by the time you get down here. And a touch here, you know what can happen. And I think DJ's going to say, yeah, I don't want to end up in another mess on an opening lap. He tucks back in and will live to fight. Speaking of fighting, look at Walbaum and Roberts.
Whoa, very dicey moments back here. Michael Montello, of course, fighting to get purchase on the pavement. And one car in the background turned around. That was Benson Ty. Half lap done, and Paul Darling is a second clear of the field. But Burkhardt and Alessandrini and Walbaum, as you mentioned, nose to tail for second.
Well, I think Darling just took advantage of Burkhardt and Alessandrini running side by each all the way down into the old hairpin, got them both offline a little bit. And this is a momentum track with these cars being so equal. Just that little bit of loss of Mo going side by side. You can see what Walbaum or what Darling was able to do with it.
Whoa, there's a big mess. Oh, two cars off the 74, and they're going to get Langille involved in the 54 as well. More trouble. The Ryan Carwile machine goes for a spin. The chicane is a...
Is that Persad as well that ended up off there?
Yes, Persad also drops down the order. And Junkyard on the final corners. Look at this mess. And this is for 10th place. Pennington, Montello, Matt Corrins. Matt Corrins is up to 12th place. How did he get there? He started in 30th.
That's a remarkable opening 2 laps by Corrins. Phenomenal. And exactly what he needed to do in terms of points.
I mean, that is, I don't understand how that's even possible. 18 positions in a lap at Donington, through everything and without any damage on the nose of that car, did it all cleanly as well. That's the second part that's impressive about that move.
He must have threaded a few needles. And up. And now he's latched right on to the back of the 77 of Montello with Pennington right up in front. So he's only a couple of spots out of the top 10 right now.
And that would save his points night. Again, remember, they come in separated by 10 points, but we use the GRIDLIFE Touring Cup points format, so 25 points to the winner and 21 points to second. Ooh, Peter Zhang and Dana Basinski, 2 time attackers in GRIDLIFE, getting very close together. Alessandrini
made it through. Yeah.
Alessandrini had a run on Burkhardt, and now it goes down the hill side by side again.
Yep, really close, and this is down to the bottom of the Craner curves. DJ's got the line now into the old hairpin and slices through. Thought Walbaum, he did. He got a little bit of a run. It's just not a lot of room, though, when you come out of there. But now he's going to tuck to the inside as they work through Starkey's Bridge and up into McLean. But he's on the outside of McLean's. Not going to be able to get it done.
Didn't quite work out in Walbaum's favor. Burkhardt, again, playing a fierce battle here, but this is all happening 2 seconds behind Paul Darling. He is checked out. What I was going back to about the points is that I think Corrins is going to have to get up to at least 8th or 7th to really have a shot of walking out of here with the points lead. So this could be the night that he loses it if he can't continue to climb.
But he's climbed a ton.
Yeah, something tells me he's going to have no problem getting some more spots. That's
I have that feeling too, yeah. Now the question up front is, with DJ up and into second, does he have the pace that we saw in his heat to be able to run down Darling? Darling, you know, is not going to go quietly.
Differential last time by 1.4 seconds. We'll keep a very careful eye on the hybrid racing Honda Civic Type R here. Morgan Burkhardt and Matt Walbaum tight in 3rd and 4th. But as long as they play nice, they should be able to run Darling down. I think Alessandrini's a little quicker than Darling tonight, but Walbaum and Burkhardt rather are not working together very well here.
No, and DJ's loving that. Looking in his mirror, seeing them side by side. That's going to give him a little bit more breathing room to a spot he doesn't have to worry about too much of an attack from behind, at least for a bit. And he can, you know, turn the proverbial mirrors down and try and get after Darling. And here comes Walbaum.
2-car goes defensive. Can they run side by side? Walbaum backs out. He'll try to build this run for the front straight. There it is.
Oh,
well done.
Yep. Yeah, he got Burkhardt to just a little bit overcommit speed-wise into Goddard's, and it slowed him down on the exit. That's that compromise I'm talking about. You got to give the entrance up just a little to get the car straightened out and get to the throttle early.
Rob Clark,
Mark couldn't
Crawford.
quite get it to work. Yeah.
Clark, Crawford, Mogensen. This is all for about 19th place. They were nose to tail into the chicane. Mogensen, again, one of the LCQ drivers, I believe, started in 32nd up to 20th.
Yeah, he's had a great run. He was really aggressive, but controlled aggression, and it worked for him beautifully.
Another driver we have to mention, Marc-Antoine Blaise in the 31, running 8th in the heat, started 16th, and thinking back to his qualifying effort, he was really not where I think anyone expected him to be, but he has found his way back where he should be.
Yeah, up into the top 10 solidly in 8th right now, although Engel is coming.
I think he'll move a little further forward as well. Notice something interesting about Marc-Antoine Blaise's paint scheme that I've noticed. I'm not sure. You see the GRIDLIFE logo is backwards on that car.
It is on that side.
And I noticed the same thing.
Way off behind him by Engel.
Yeah, Engel off as well. I've noticed the same thing. So this car has the logos the right way, but I think also the BC Racing car that was driven in the heat races also had the logos backwards. I wonder if there's something amiss with the liveries tonight. Well, the ASM cars, right? So I don't know. A couple cars I've noticed.
How's it look on this side? Yeah, that's good. And yeah, and that's a really good point. But on Pennington, on Blaise, the GRIDLIFE is correct on one side.
Yeah, I don't know how that could happen.
That's
but
interesting.
Yeah. Well, for the race lead, Alessandrini has tracked Darling down. Here we go.
Yep, he has. And one thing I've been watching with DJ, and what he's got figured out here, is you get better braking when the car is in a straight line. You know, you could trail brake into a turn, but there's a separate reason for that. But when you're talking about just maximum braking efficiency, you want the platform straight and level, and he's been doing a great job of that. Let's see if he uses that really abrupt turn in here again. Yep, he got a nice run. It wasn't as abrupt, and Darling got through there very well. But DJ's really been good about getting into those braking zones, like into Old Hairpin and McLean's, where you're sort of shifting as he goes up around the outside, getting that car in a straight line, getting the most out of the brakes. And it's paid off as he is all over the back of Darling.
Will DJ be denied? 4 rounds without a win. He is hungry for one. Darling, winner last week. We've had 4 different winners in 4 different races. DJ trying to be the 5th different winner of the season. Darling trying to be the first repeat winner. 12 minutes to go, closing in on halfway. And the battle is up front for the top spot.
And with Corrence having a great drive, but still mired down in the field, Darling is doing everything he can. He's doing what he needs to do here, but he ran a little wide there. DJ had a run. Is he going to try and stuff it down the inside? No. Checks up. Good bit of gentlemanly driving there. I think now the exit and down this long Starkey straight.
I think he's fast enough where he doesn't have to rush this. I mean, he ran Darling down from about 2 seconds back. No need to make it all happen in one corner.
Right.
Again, that really abrupt turn in, as you mentioned, just chucking the car through that turn. And, oh, Darling's off course.
And DJ, wise move there, just went way off just in case Darling hooked that curb on the exit and it snapped him across. It may have given Darling an opportunity to hold on, but DJ's got the nose in front. That outside line right there, if you're in that position there, the guy on the inside is either going to hit you or has to back out of it, and DJ is through because Darling showed a bit of sportsmanship there. Nicely done, guys.
Is it over, though? I think Darling has pace to maybe hang on to Alessandrini for a bit, but I think his advantage is gone, and his advantage was track position, not necessarily pace.
Let's watch here.
Oh, he's off course. He spins.
Yep. That's that really tricky approach to McLean's where you're braking as you're transitioning, and it just bit him out.
Here's another look at it coming up the hill. He's just going to move a little too far left right here in the braking zone and just misses the turn in and drops the left side tires, and around he went.
Yep, and that's the turn where I was telling you, you don't want to be all the way to the left coming up into McLean's. You want to be center to maybe 2/3 over to the left. But if you get all the way over there, 1, that can happen. But 2, it's really tough to get it to the apex and be able to pick up the throttle as early as you want. It just caught him out.
Peter Zhang, Dana Basinski, all battling for 13th. Zhang goes off course. Basinski has a run. It looks like Frida Rodriguez is going to follow him in the 21 car as well.
Boy, Basinski has just really been driving well, hasn't he? His pace isn't maybe that of the guys right up front, but he's just throwing in really clean, consistent laps, not making mistakes. just really doing a nice job.
Yeah, if I understand correctly, so Dana currently runs in Club TR in GRIDLIFE Track Battle with a K-Swap Subaru BRZ, and if I understand correctly, his intentions at some point in the future are to run in GRIDLIFE Touring Cup, and this is absolutely phenomenal experience, getting some wheel-to-wheel, just racecraft knowledge, and it's something that you'll hear Alessandrini just continually go over, that iRacing is really the closest thing you're going to get to simulating racecraft, and it's not necessarily training, but it's something that you can kind of take away learnings from. I think Dana is getting a lot of experience right now running in 13th, right behind points leader Matt Corrins.
Well, if nothing else, it does a great deal for mental discipline. You know, you really have to be smooth and you know, still quick, and you're gonna get hit, and how you deal with all that can translate over. And the one thing that's impressive here is, keep in mind, Basinski right now is right behind the point leader and is working him over. That's impressive stuff.
Peter Zhang under fire from Frida Rodriguez just behind. That's a battle for 14th place. Frito in the 21, that's the white Civic behind Peter Zhang, who runs a Subaru in GRIDLIFE Track Battle. Another driver that I think has GLTC on the horizon as well, Greg.
That's great, and these guys are showing that they're up for it for sure. Just going to say, of course, Currents in that charge through the pack, he may have cooked his tires a little bit. So, you know, at a certain point, sometimes you just get as far as you can get because the tires just aren't going to stick with you. You don't have to worry too much about brakes on this track, but tires, they can take a pasting because you're always in turns here, aren't you, pretty much?
Yeah, I think, you know, the front tires on these TCR cars do pretty much everything. They do the accelerating, they do most of the braking, they do all the turning. The rear tires are just there to keep the rear subframe from dragging on the ground, basically, and you really can overcook them even in just a couple minutes. They take a lap or two to heat up, but then it's very easy to overheat them in a lap or two if you just beat up on them too much. But if you take care of them and don't scrub them, I think the biggest thing is just trying to keep too much wheel out of it. It's really easy in a battle, especially in the slower corners, just crank on that wheel to get a little more grip, but it will just absolutely scrub the face of that tire right off, and then you're going to have a lot of trouble with overheating tires.
Absolutely. And Basinski just got taught a little lesson by Matt right there. Basinski tried what we were talking about, the compromise going through Goddard's, and he overcharged it just a little bit, and it cost him a couple of car lengths on the exit. And that's something that you just put in your pocket now and go, okay, don't do that again. And getting back to what you're talking about with those front tires on a front-wheel drive car, that braking while you're turning gets even exaggerated because of you're asking those fronts to do so much. And the minute you have angle into the tires, your braking efficiency just drops a little bit. Now, like I said, you could trail brake, use all that for rotation and the like, but in terms of pure efficiency, straight line braking is king.
Battle for 5th, Josh Rodig in the 20, that's the white and blue Audi. And John Davis in the 48, that's the Gulf liveried car. And Rodig, again, have to mention him. This has been a standout moment in his season, running inside the top 5, but he will have to fight to defend it because Davis is all over him with 6.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, Davis really attacking now, down through the Craner curves into Old Hairpin. And you can see it's really not a hairpin at all in terms of the angle of the corner, but back in the very early days, that corner was much tighter, and that's why it still carries the name Old Hairpin. And I love this. You got the Gulf livery car, we got a Rothman's car, just the evocative historical liveries. So cool to see here.
That's probably one of the underrated aspects of sim racing or just gaming in general, is the ability to paint those liveries that you grew up watching, or to make your own race team. We've seen ASM transfer their real-world liveries onto the race car. Alessandrini has as well. And I think there's a lot of fun in that, designing your own race team and building the liveries and kind of understanding what makes a good one versus what makes a bad one. And there's a whole community that doesn't even race cars in iRacing or those other games. They just paint cars and look at them. And I can enjoy that as well on occasion. You throw on Spotify or some tunes in the background and just get away to designing. It's a fun way to spend a day or two.
Yeah, to unleash your inner artist.
Look at this. How about this?
What a scrap this is turning into. What a thread job right there. Oh. That was that Zhang?
Zhang and Basinski and Frida Rodriguez. Those two just had a little bit of a touch. Heard some wheels grinded against each other. Basinski's going to lose a few spots here. Zhang and Rodriguez go by.
Yeah, Zhang just found a gap where one did. Oh, big lurid slide here by Managarian.
Gathers it back up. kept the foot on the throttle and kept it going straight at the very least. How about this? Montello and Pennington. This is for 8th. And Ryan Engel is going to smell blood in the water here. He comes flying in the Hyundai. He might have an opportunity to grab a spot or two.
This is some great stuff. Montello to the right, Pennington to the left. Still side by side into Goddard's. And finally, Pennington just has to give it up. And that's going to let Engel. Well, I thought it was, but look at the run that Blaze got.
A big one, up into the top 10 with that run, and he's still got 2 more positions on the plate in front of him. Pennington swings left.
Trying to set that line up, the proper line into Redgate. And he cut over. I Blaze did a nice job to not get collected there by Pennington. Down through the Craner curves.
Nose to tail. Visibility can be tricky as well when you're right behind somebody. You can't see the corners coming up. But they give each other plenty of space back here. Engel gets stopped, nowhere to go.
Yeah, Blaze just dove up the inside.
Oh, look out.
Ooh, near touch there. Boy, Blaze is just working that. He's not really frightened about getting up the inside here.
Oh, Engel with a huge run up the outside. Used up the curb.
He just keeps her pinned. He can do it from out there. You could just ramp that outside. That's exactly right. You try and pitch too much at the exit of Coppice, and it really scrubs speed. What we were talking about, it's an increasing radius corner. You could just let it open up. Oh, look at this. This battle is fierce.
Whoop, and Zhang gets knocked out of the way. Let's see again. That was a bit of a...
I don't know if he got touched.
Let's have a look.
Or if he just lost. Oh, he turned in on him. Yeah.
Didn't quite leave enough space there, I don't think. Let's get another look from a different angle and see exactly what happens here as they head down into the chicane. Yeah, not quite enough space there, Greg, but
yep.
I think it hurt Zhang more than it hurt Basinski. So Basinski will continue in 13th place.
And Rob Clark's heart's in his throat right at the moment. That happened right in front of him. How he didn't get collected, I don't know. Right there in that. I love that graphic on that car. It's a puzzle.
Legos.
It's an explosion of colors. Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it?
I'm not sure that he saw the crash in front of him. He's been looking in the mirror at Frito Rodriguez right behind him.
That's a good point. He may not even have looked up and done a Buster Keaton double thing. So where'd they go?
Matt Mogensen behind as well.
I just ate myself. Sorry about that.
No,
I'm just a student of old movies. That's all.
There you go. That's a common joke in the office, Greg, is they always ask me, have you seen this movie? And it's, no, it's from before I was born. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. The general, I just basically tell them if you are asking me if I've ever seen a movie, the answer is probably no.
No.
So.
Yeah.
Pennington.
This battle continues.
Yeah, Pennington, Engel, and Marc-Antoine Blaze. This is for 9th place.
Yeah, all that aggression for Blaze ended up costing him a spot, didn't it? Engel was just tracking him beautifully. Watched everything they were doing.
With all this happening in the background, Alessandrini is approaching 1 lap to go. And once he got by Paul Darling, he just set sail. And Matt Waldbaum has 2 seconds to catch. But he's got Morgan Burkhardt behind him. So Waldbaum doesn't have a ton of wiggle room here if he makes a mistake on this final lap.
No, the interesting thing, Darling, who looked so good early, is faded now into 4th and is about 3 seconds adrift of Burkhardt. And you wonder if in trying to stay in front of DJ, if he didn't just overcook those tires a little bit.
Yeah, I think Darling's pace, it's been very consistent. It's just not quite at the level of the front 3. I think he had the advantage on the start because he just kind of nailed the start again. And that Audi DSG really gives you the advantage on the standing starts here. Pulled away, gained some time, but then as soon as he got kind of turned around, he's just kind of sat where his pace is, which I think will keep him 4th at the moment.
Now the question here is going to be, well, that was bound to end up in tears, wasn't it, the way those guys were racing?
Yeah, just a little bit of wiggling and wobbling and cars running out of space, and bam.
Yeah, they got hooked up with involved with some other cars, and all the margins suddenly disappeared. But my question is how hard is Waldbaum going to fight Burkhardt if Burkhardt really gets after him here in this last lap for that second spot?
Oh, they're running out of time.
Looks like he's got enough. Yeah, it looks like he's okay.
DJ Alessandrini. Victory has eluded him so far this season. It will not here in Donington. After 5 rounds, Alessandrini finally picks up a win in the GRIDLIFE iRacers Winter Touring Car Classic. He'll be celebrating that one for sure. This has been a hard-fought season. Waldbaum, second place, fresh off of his top 10 run in the weekend at Circuit of the Americas and GLTC. Morgan Burkhardt picks up a podium. Paul Darling finishes 4th. Josh Rodig 5th. Davis, Pennington, Waxman, Blaze, and Engel the rest of the top 10. A couple of drivers still fighting to the finish here. Frida Rodriguez, Mogensen, and a little deeper. How about this? Shout Crawford final corners, Craig.
Woo! Close stuff here. Down into Goddard's. Ooh, overshot. He's going to hang on to it. The 66 of Shout will, I think, just. Yeah, some great stuff. And Matt Corrence ends up on that last lap, moves up into 10th.
So that will be a collection of 10 points for Matt Corrence. And for Paul Darling, it will be 16. So that will close in a few more points for Paul Darling on the points lead. We'll have to see where Alessandrini ends up in the points after that. He'll pick up 25, and that's a pretty significant jump. Coming into this round, Alessandrini had, how many points did he have? 51. So he might have actually been able to swap positions with Waldbaum and Darling, but we'll have to see. Waldbaum, 21 points he picks up. Let's have a look at the results after round number 5. And there's a look at 11th, but we're going to have a look at first. There it is. Alessandrini, Waldbaum, Burkhardt, Darling, Rodig, your top 5. And what a great battle. Clean battles up front all night.
It really was. And again, Marc-Antoine Blaise in that battle with Engel. And then Corrence having that great scrap. And I tell you, the guy that I think really was impressive in this, considering his lack of experience, was Dana Baczynski, and able to stay right with Corrence for much of that race. Some really, really good stuff there. And how about some parity in the GRIDLIFE iRacers Winter Cup? 5 races, 5 different winners.
Yeah, and I think, in the past, we've run a whole bunch of seasons a whole bunch of times, and it's typically the same 3 or 4 people that really dominate the standings, but not so. We've had a couple people jump into this mix that you wouldn't expect. Marc-Antoine Blaise is top 5 in the points. Austin Cobb has dropped out. He hasn't made every round. Andrew Pilata missed this round. Christopher Roberts, he ended up having not a great night, so he should drop a few points. But the Montellos in particular, the brothers, had strong runs in the heats, but not so in the features necessarily. So some work for them in round number 6 at Lime Rock Park. Let's have a look down the order a little farther. Ryan Persad, Lucas Webster end up with a 28th. And then from here on down are the drivers that found themselves in trouble in this one. A couple cars involved in crashes throughout the race.
Yeah, I mean, some really hard battling there. And, of course, Pennington, he was right in the thick of some phenomenal battles throughout here. And just fun to watch. No matter where you ended up, pointing the camera, there was 2-3 cars just going at it. And with the exception of that one big incident down through Starkey's Bridge, other than the odd off here and there, it was a pretty clean evening of racing. I think that's something to be very proud of. Now, we think of the next round, take this Donington National Circuit and squeeze it by a little over a half mile. And that's what you got at the Bull Ring at Lime Rock. And that place with this big field of cars, oh boy.
We'll talk about Lime Rock before we head out. We got a couple interviews to take care of first. How about Morgan Burkhardt? His first entrance in the GRIDLIFE Winter Touring Car Classic, comes home 3rd. Morgan, congratulations. You're toe-to-toe with some of the juggernauts of this series in your number 2 Audi. A strong run. Take us through your battles tonight with Waldbaum, Alessandrini, and Darling.
Well, it was definitely a lot of fun. It was kind of just management, trying to make the best of my chances. And in the final race, it was kind of let DJ get the best start I could, and then let DJ go and do his thing and try and follow him through. But I had a little bit of a struggle with tires and getting them to the proper temperatures. And then, I just wasn't close enough to Matt towards the end.
Well, it was still just an exceptional debut, to be sure, and it looked like there were times where you definitely had the pace, and as you said, we were talking about it. This track can take a little bit of a toll on tires, and you say you felt that, huh?
Yeah, for sure. I'm really happy with the pace and to be running up with these guys. They're a lot of fun to race with. They'll make you push it really hard, so it's always good to push your limits.
Well, it looks like you've got these standing starts dialed as well. That's pretty huge.
Yeah, for whatever reason, that Audi is so good off the line, and I've just found the trick to get it consistently good.
Well done, Morgan.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Morgan. We'll see you next week. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Moving on now to Matt Walbaum after a strong performance at Circuit of the Americas and GRIDLIFE Touring Cup. His first weekend of wheel-to-wheel racing in the real world, Matt. You back it up with a second-place run tonight in the Winter Touring Car Classic. From COTA to Donington in a matter of days, real life to sim. How was your experience this weekend, and how was your experience tonight?
Oh, this weekend was pretty phenomenal. I had pretty low expectations just because it was my first time wheel-to-wheel, so I'd set a goal for myself that I was in the top 10. I'd be super, super happy, and I ended up basically top 10 in all the races. So I was over the moon, excited, no contact, car was clean, ran well all weekend after a few problems we fixed in practice. So that was a ton of fun. And then this is just as exciting, hopping in and getting to race super close with buddies. I still get the same kind of jitters in the hands after a race when you have a good race, just like in real life.
Well, and you had a good race here. It was really, really competitive. You were just kind of relentless, always right up near the sharp end of things. Coming off of your first actual wheel-to-wheel racing weekend, did you find anything from the sims that really helped you out in particular?
Yeah, I definitely think just being aware of what's around you and traffic management. There's a point going into turn one, and obviously it opens up super wide, and people will come in 4 and 5 wide. I saw in my mirror someone that was kind of making a little bit of a dive for the apex, making it 5 wide, and I was able to unwind my hands to save myself from getting kind of booped in the rear end. So that was kind of just felt like immediately like something I would have picked up from my racing. I don't know if I would have known that, just kind of doing my first wheel-to-wheel race.
All right, no pressure here now, Matt, but the last couple of races, guys that have been up near the sharp end of the points that don't have a win have been filling in those zeros with wins. You next at Lime Rock?
We'll give it a shot. I think I was supposed to be the pick because I think I was 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and then this was supposed to be the first weekend. So we'll give it a shot at Lime Rock.
I know you will. Fun to watch, man. Always.
2 seconds shy of a win. Matt Walbaum finishes P2. We'll see you next week, Matt.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, Greg.
And for DJ Alessandrini, a win was elusive this season, but he gets it done tonight. And after passing Paul Darling, DJ, you two battled for a couple laps. Then you just cleared yourself away and won. It looked like a typical GRIDLIFE iRacers race. Took you a few weeks longer this time, but you're back in victory lane.
Yeah, I think Donington holds a special place in my heart. Donington is the first place I ever won my first league race at. It wasn't in iRacing, it was in Assetto Corsa, but this was my first track I ever won anything racing related in. So I think me in this place, we just kind of jive. And yeah, the car felt good today, and I felt like my focus was in the right place. And yeah, I only made one mistake, and it really didn't cost me anything when I went wide on T1. And the rest of the time, I felt like I did a really good job tonight, and the results show it.
Well, and DJ, 2 things I wanted to ask about was, one, you really looked like you had Goddard's that the chicane leading onto the front straight absolutely figured out. You had really aggressive turn in, got to throttle early, and that seemed to pay off for you. You just always seem to get great runs out of that chicane.
Yeah, So I would try when I was trying to pressure somebody, I would try to get like right up on their bumper, so hopefully it would fluster them a little bit, because it's really easy to mess up the exit of the chicane, and really leaving the chicane is probably the best passing opportunity. Going side by side in the chicane loses you so much time, unless you're fighting for the lead and nobody's even close behind you. It's really not worth doing just because you lose so much time being side by side in the chicane. So yeah, I would really just try to get right up on them where they feel like they'd almost have to lift off the brake a little bit, kind of mess up the rhythm in the chicane a little bit, and I would be able to get them out of it. But really the key to that chicane is finding the proper amount of curb to take on entry. And after that, like just being consistent on that, because you're kind of flirting with a slowdown. And right there, if you got to slow down, it would be pretty brutal to your race. But I flirted with it accurately all night, and yeah, it paid off.
Yeah, and the other thing that I was watching was there's so many corners that you're coming into, like Old Hairpin, Turn 4, McLean 7, even Coppice a bit, where you're transitioning side to side while you're getting into a braking zone, and you really seem to get it figured out how to get that car as straight as you could to get your primary braking done and then flow the speed through the corner. And you weren't pinching the edge at a Coppice either. Looked like it was giving you great runs onto that Starkey Straight.
Greg, you know the names of these corners way better than I.
Turn 8 would, yeah. Turn 8, that double apex, the last turn really before the chicane.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, so I found that you could run basically the same pace if you just like carried speed through it, but you kind of beat on your left front tire. So I found if you just choked up a little bit, had a little less scrub in the tire, you'd lose a little bit of time in the corner, but since you had less scrub in the tire, you would actually be rolling down the straightaway quicker. So it would end up being about the same time, just doing like a slightly slower and tighter line. But it was better on the tires, and you had a better run down the straightaway, which is a better defensive play for that section of the track, anyways.
Yeah, and Kyle, he brings up a good point about those tires and that left front taking a pasting around here. You're in these corners a long time.
Yeah, a lot of steering, and it's easy to heat them up when they're doing pretty much everything up front. DJ, congratulations on your first win of the season, and we'll see you next week at Lime Rock Park.
Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well done, bud.
Thanks, Greg.
And with that, Greg, finishing out another week of action, the Winter Touring Car Classic. But up next week, one of my favorites, and again, the site of the GRIDLIFE Circuit Legends Festival later this year, Lime Rock Park in Lakeville, Connecticut. That is going to be a lot of fun, Greg. Another racetrack that at times has been synonymous with touring car racing and now club-level racing as well as professional racing. Think of IMSA back in the 80s and 90s, GTP cars. Man, it's just a fantastic classic North American road course.
And yeah, absolutely, and it's pure momentum. This track is largely momentum as well, so it's got those similarities. As I said, you just compress it into a much smaller venue, 1.5 miles. It's the bull ring. Again, a lot of loads. You actually set the car up almost like a stock car on occasions with a little bit of stagger because you've got that one left-hander. The rest are all rights. And getting that set up is going to be key. But the biggest thing with the amount of cars we have is keeping things clean. That's going to be a real challenge there, and I think it's going to be an absolute blast. And I'm with you. I mean, that track, it happened so fast, and I can't fathom running a GTP car around there and turning a lap of that 1.5 mile track in 49 seconds. That's just stunning stuff.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, we probably won't be doing 49 seconds next week in the TCR cars, but it's going to feel very, very fast indeed. That's going to do it for us tonight, though. Greg, thanks again for joining me, and can't wait to get back to it, Lime Rock next week. And then we head up to Scotland for Knock Hill Racing Circuit and then VIR to finish things out. So the last 3 rounds coming up next week, March 1st. For our next round. Thanks for watching the GRIDLIFE Winter Touring Car Classic. Big thanks to BC Racing, and congratulations to the podium winners, and thanks to Recaro for offering them prizes. We'll see you next week from Lakeville, Connecticut and Lime Rock Park.